The wind moved slowly across the empty plains, brushing against the tall, dry grass like a whisper that carried old memories. The sun was setting behind the distant hills, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and purple. Daniel Hayes stood near the wooden fence of his ranch, his rough hands resting on the worn wood as he looked out across the land he had spent his whole life working on. The ranch was quiet, as it always was. Too quiet. Once, there had been laughter here. Once, there had been voices, horses running, and the smell of warm food drifting from the house. But that was years ago. Now, there was only silence and the sound of the wind. Daniel turned to walk back toward the house when he heard something faint. A cry. At first, he thought it was just the wind playing tricks on him. But then he heard it again. Soft, broken, human. He stopped. The sound was coming from beyond the old barn. Daniel moved quickly, his boots pressing hard into the dirt as he walked around the side of the building. The sun had nearly set now, and shadows stretched long across the ground. For a moment, he saw nothing. Then he saw her. A young woman sat on the ground near the fence, her back pressed against the wood, her arms wrapped tightly around herself. Her clothes were dusty, torn at the edges, and her dark hair hung loosely over her face. She was trembling. Daniel slowed his steps, not wanting to frighten her. "Miss," he called gently. She flinched. Her head snapped up, her eyes wide with fear. For a second, she looked like she might run, but she didn't. She just stared at him, breathing hard. "I didn't mean to scare you," Daniel said, raising one hand slowly. "You're on my land. Are you hurt?" She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes filled with tears. Daniel stepped closer, keeping his voice calm. "It's all right. You're safe here." At that, she let out a broken sound. Not quite a sob, not quite a laugh. "I'd rather die than go back," she whispered. The words hit him like a sudden storm. He stopped where he was. "What happened?" he asked quietly. She shook her head, her grip tightening around her arms. "Please, just don't make me go back." Daniel studied her face. She looked exhausted, frightened, like someone who had been running for a long time. "I'm not sending you anywhere," he said. "Not until I know you're all right." She stared at him, searching his face, as if trying to decide whether she could trust him. Her lips trembled. "They said they'd find me." "Who?" Daniel asked. She looked away. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The air grew colder as the sun finally slipped below the horizon. Daniel took off his coat and slowly placed it on the ground beside her. "Here," he said. "It's getting cold." She hesitated, then slowly reached for it. As she pulled it around her shoulders, her hands shook so badly that he felt a sharp pain in his chest. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Emily," she said quietly. "I'm Daniel." She nodded once, as if committing the name to memory. "Can you stand?" he asked. She tried, but the moment she pushed herself up, her legs gave out. Daniel stepped forward quickly and caught her before she could fall. She stiffened at his touch. "It's all right," he said softly. "I've got you." For a moment, she stayed tense. Then slowly, carefully, she let herself lean on him. He helped her walk toward the house. Each step seemed to take all her strength. Inside, the small ranch house was warm. Daniel guided her to the chair near the fireplace and started a fire. The flames flickered to life, filling the room with a soft glow. Emily sat quietly, staring at the fire as if she hadn't seen one in years. Daniel brought her a glass of water. "Drink," he said. She took it with both hands and drank slowly. "Food?" he asked. She nodded. He made something simple. Bread, a little stew, whatever he had left. When he placed the bowl in front of her, she looked at it like she didn't believe it was real. "Go ahead," he said. She started eating. At first, slowly, then faster, like someone who hadn't eaten properly in days. Daniel turned away to give her some privacy. He leaned against the kitchen counter, watching the fire. After a while, her voice came from behind him. "They were going to make me marry him." Daniel turned. Emily was staring at the floor. "I told them I wouldn't," she said, her voice shaking. "I told them I'd rather die than." Her words faded. Daniel didn't speak. "They locked me in my room," she continued. "Said I'd change my mind. Said I didn't have a choice." Her hands tightened into fists. "So I ran." Daniel felt a heaviness settle in his chest. How far? He asked. 3 days, she said. I just kept walking. 3 days. No wonder she could barely stand. They'll come looking, she whispered. Daniel walked closer, stopping a few steps away so he wouldn't overwhelm her. You're safe here, he said. She looked up at him. You don't know them. No, he said, but I know this land. And I know no one comes here unless I let them. For the first time, a small piece of relief appeared in her eyes. That night, Daniel made up the small room at the end of the hall for her. It had once belonged to his daughter. The thought brought a quiet ache, but he pushed it aside. You can sleep here, he said. Emily stood in the doorway, unsure. Thank you, she whispered. Daniel nodded. Get some rest. As he turned to leave, she spoke again. Why are you helping me? He paused. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then he said quietly, because once, a long time ago, I needed someone to help me too. He walked back to the main room and sat by the fire, staring into the flames long after they began to fade. Morning came slowly. Daniel was already outside when Emily stepped onto the porch. The sun was rising, casting a golden light across the fields. She looked different, still tired, still fragile, but there was something calmer in her expression now. Morning, Daniel said. Morning, she replied softly. He handed her a cup of tea. She wrapped her hands around it. For a while, they stood in silence. Then, in the distance, Daniel saw something that made his stomach tighten. Dust, rising from the road. Someone was coming. Emily noticed his expression change. What is it? She asked. He didn't answer right away. The dust cloud grew larger. A wagon. Emily's face went pale. They found me, she whispered. Her hands began to shake again. Daniel looked at her, truly looked at her, the fear in her eyes, the desperation, the quiet strength it must have taken to run for 3 days. He turned back toward the road. The wagon was getting closer. Without saying a word, Daniel walked to the fence and unlatched the gate. Then he swung it closed again and slid the heavy iron bolt into place. Emily watched him. What are you doing? She asked. Daniel picked up his old rifle and rested it against his shoulder. His voice was calm, steady. They're not taking you. Emily stared at him, stunned. The wagon rolled closer, the sound of wheels grinding against dirt filling the morning air. Daniel stepped forward, standing between the house and the road. For the first time in years, the ranch didn't feel empty anymore. And as the wagon came to a stop at the gate, Daniel Hayes stood his ground, ready to do the unthinkable to protect someone who had nowhere else to go. The wagon stopped just beyond the closed gate, its wooden wheels creaking as the horses shifted. Impatiently, dust floated slowly in the morning air, glowing in the golden sunlight. Daniel stood still, his rifle resting in his hands, his eyes fixed on the men who had come. 3 of them. One older man sat at the front, holding the reins. His face was hard, lined with age and anger. Beside him was a younger man, tall and well-dressed, his jaw clenched tightly. In the back of the wagon sat another, heavier man, his eyes scanning the land like he was measuring it. Behind Daniel, he could hear Emily's breathing. Shallow, frightened. The older man stepped down from the wagon first. His boots hit the dirt with a firm thud. He walked slowly toward the gate, stopping just a few feet away. You the owner of this land? He asked. Daniel nodded once. I am. The man glanced at the rifle, then back at Daniel's face. We're looking for a girl. Daniel said nothing. Young, the man continued. Dark hair, thin, probably looks like she hasn't slept in days. Daniel's grip tightened slightly on the rifle. Haven't seen anyone, he replied calmly. The younger man jumped down from the wagon and walked closer. His eyes were sharp, restless. We know she came this way, he said. Her tracks led right up to your fence. Daniel didn't move. Tracks lead lots of places. The younger man's eyes narrowed. Her name is Emily. Behind him, Daniel felt Emily stiffen. She belongs with us, the older man added. She's my daughter. Daniel looked at him carefully. There was no softness in the man's eyes. No worry, no relief, only control. She ran off, the older man continued. She's not thinking straight. We're just here to bring her home. Daniel let the silence stretch between them. The heavy man from the back of the wagon climbed down and began walking along the fence, looking for another way in. Daniel shifted his stance slightly, enough for the man to notice. "Gates closed," Daniel said. "And it'll stay that way." The younger man scoffed. "You planning to keep a father from his own daughter?" Daniel met his gaze. "I'm planning to keep trouble off my land." The older man stepped closer to the gate, his fingers wrapping around the wood. "You hiding her?" Daniel didn't answer. Behind him, the screen door creaked softly. All three men looked past him. Emily had stepped onto the porch. Her face was pale, but her chin was lifted. She stood there, small and trembling, wrapped in Daniel's coat. The younger man's expression changed instantly. "Emily," he called. "There you are." She didn't move. "Come down here," he said. "You made enough of a scene already." Emily's voice came out barely above a whisper. "I'm not coming back." The older man's face darkened. "Don't embarrass yourself. Get in the wagon." She shook her head. "I'd rather die than go back," she said again, louder this time. The words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. The younger man took a step forward. "You've had your little adventure. It's over now." Daniel stepped in front of the gate. "She said no," he said quietly. The younger man's eyes snapped toward him. "This doesn't concern you." "She's standing on my land," Daniel replied. "That makes it my concern." The heavy man had moved closer to the side of the fence, testing the wood. "We can climb over." Daniel raised the rifle slightly. Not pointing. Just enough. The movement was small, but it was clear. "No one's climbing anything," he said. The older man looked at Daniel for a long moment. Then he sighed heavily, as if tired of the whole thing. "You don't understand," he said. "She's promised to be married. Arrangements have been made. People are expecting it." Emily's voice trembled. "You sold me." The older man's jaw tightened. "Watch your mouth." "You did," she cried. "You didn't even ask me." The younger man stepped forward again, anger flashing across his face. "You'll do as you're told." Daniel's eyes shifted between them. He could see it now. The way the younger man looked at her. Like she was already his. A cold feeling settled in Daniel's chest. "She doesn't belong to you," Daniel said. The younger man laughed harshly. "That's not your decision." Emily's voice broke from behind him. "Please, don't let them take me." Daniel didn't turn around. He didn't need to see her face to know the fear in it. The older man stepped closer to the gate. "This is the last time I'm asking nicely. Open it." Daniel's voice stayed calm. "No." The silence that followed felt dangerous. The younger man's hand curled into a fist. "You're making a mistake." Daniel met his eyes. "So are you." The heavy man suddenly grabbed the fence and started to climb. In one quick motion, Daniel raised the rifle fully and aimed it at the ground right in front of the man. He fired. The shot echoed across the plains, loud and sharp. The heavy man jumped back, stumbling into the dirt. The horses reared slightly, startled. No one spoke. Smoke drifted slowly from the end of the rifle. Daniel's voice was steady. "Next one won't hit the ground." Emily stood frozen on the porch. The older man stared at Daniel, his face filled with fury. "You'd shoot us?" he asked. "I'd protect what's on my land," Daniel said. For a moment, it looked like the younger man might rush forward anyway. His chest rose and fell with anger. But then the older man grabbed his arm. "Enough," he said quietly. The younger man pulled free. "We're not leaving her here." The older man's eyes stayed locked on Daniel. "You can't keep her forever." Daniel lowered the rifle slightly, but his stance didn't change. "I'm not keeping anyone." Emily stepped forward on the porch, her voice shaking. "I'm staying because I choose to." The older man looked at her then. Really looked at her. For a split second, something like doubt crossed his face. Then it was gone. "You'll regret this," he said coldly. He turned and climbed back onto the wagon. The heavy man got up slowly, brushing dirt from his clothes, shooting Daniel a dark look before climbing back in. The younger man stayed where he was for a moment longer. His eyes locked onto Emily. "This isn't over," he said quietly. Then he turned and joined the others. The wagon wheels creaked as they turned around. Slowly, they began to move away, the dust rising again behind them. Daniel stood there, watching until they disappeared over the hill. Only then did he lower the rifle completely. The silence returned, but it didn't feel peaceful. It felt like the kind of silence that comes before a storm. Behind him, Emily stepped down from the porch. Her legs looked weak, but she forced herself to keep walking until she stood a few feet away from him. "They'll come back," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "I know. You shouldn't have done that," she said. "Now they'll hate you too." Daniel glanced at her. "I've been hated before." She wrapped her arms around herself. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For bringing trouble to your door." Daniel looked out at the empty road. "You didn't bring it," he said. "It was already out there." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want anyone to get hurt because of me." Daniel finally turned to face her. "You didn't ask for this," he said. "None of this is your fault." She looked at him, searching his face again like she had the night before. "Why are you risking so much?" she asked. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Because someone once told me I wasn't worth saving." Emily frowned slightly. And they were wrong. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of dust and dry grass. Emily wiped her eyes. What if they come back with more people? Daniel rested the rifle against his shoulder again. "Then we'll be ready." She looked at the land stretching out around them. It was big, open, isolated. For the first time, it didn't feel like a place to hide. It felt like a place to stand. And as they walked back toward the house together, both of them knew that whatever happened next would change everything.